to see that the industry is getting behind this kind of change. But how can we affect that change within us? Here with her insights, Dr. Karyn Gordon.
This is such a good topic.
Yes. I love it. I'm happy we're talking about it. I'm happy that Dove is doing this, and Girl Gaze. You've got some research. Let's start with the research first.
So the research is scary, and it's not surprising.
Yes.
Okay, so 69% of women globally say that the media set unrealistic expectations of beauty.
Yeah.
No big surprise, right? Researchers from University of Melbourne have linked body dissatisfaction to this very narrow representation that we actually have.
Yes.
National Eating Disorder Association said the exact same thing. Because we have this very narrow representation, how that is now linked to body dissatisfaction as well as disordered eating.
Absolutely.
So we know this. And yet the question then becomes, what are we going to do about it?
Right. We all need to sort of shift our thinking, because as somebody who's in front of the camera, any given day on the show, I can be anywhere from a size 6 to a size 12. Just depends on the time of year.
Right.
Maybe I'm eating all the turkey, maybe I'm drinking all the wine, maybe I'm working out and slimming down. But I hear about it from viewers. People want to weigh in and say you shouldn't look like that and be on TV. And so this is not just for people on TV. This is for people in general.
This is for everybody.
Everyone.
Yes, everybody.
And what I love about this is that they're going even beyond body. It's about representation for everyone.
Absolutely. And I think one of the biggest big takeaways is I want everybody to really understand the power of diversity.
Yeah.
We are not just talking about body image.
No.
This is a much, much, much bigger discussion. And so what happens? What happens if we don't see a full representation of people? What happens if we don't see the full diversity? I'm not just talking about body image. I'm talking about ethnicity. I'm talking about age. I'm talking about skin conditions. I'm talking about non-binary individuals. I'm talking about disabilities. So what happens if I'm 15 years old and I have a disability and I have a skin condition and I don't see myself in media?
Right.
How does that impact me?
You feel
how does that
invisible.
impact how I think about myself? And that's what's happening. And so when people don't see themselves represented, they're thinking that in terms of how it actually affects their confidence. They think, I don't matter.
Yeah.
I am less than. I am invincible. I am not as worthy. I am not as smart. I am not as loved. I am not as valued.
Yes.
That's why this topic of diversity is so powerful, where we have to make sure that everybody is being represented, which is why this campaign with Dove is so awesome.
So tell me how this works, though. So what is the campaign trying to do?
So what the campaign is trying to do is Dove basically started this campaign, Show Us campaign, and what they want is to really, it's about stock images. It's about the stock images so that advertisers, when they want to do a campaign, they can make sure that the pictures that they're using are much more inclusive.
Yeah.
So you can actually look at all of these pictures now, because there's something powerful when we see ourselves in these campaigns.
So a good example of that is every day on this show, we have graphics in the background. And if we were doing something about marriage, you'd probably see a man and a woman.
Right.
They would probably be white.
Right.
So these stock images maybe will have a man and a man. Maybe it will have a person of color, 2 people of color.
Yes.
So there is major power in that, in advertising and switching up the game and showing all of the skin tones and all of the realities that exist in real life.
So that we're all represented.
Right.
We're all represented, and we all matter.
Right.
Yes, and so it's starting to move the needle. So this has been just an incredible campaign, and so happy that it's here.
One of your tips is that if we're trying to make that change on a personal level, we need to embrace our own type. So what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so there's, when we're talking about confidence, it's complex and yet it's simple at the same time, right? So the first part is that there's a kind of a, there's this culture around us. And so thankfully with this campaign, we're now going to get more representation. So that's outside of it. But internally, with what can we actually do? So I really believe it's important that we all start to embrace our own body shape, our own, what does beauty look like to me is different than what it looks like to you, which is different with what it looks like to everybody else. And so I think for all of us, and my whole big thing, and we've talked about this before, about finding role models, find people that have your body shape, that look like you, and that are owning it.
Right.
They're owning it. They're confident. They're not kind of shying in on it. They're proud of it.
Right.
And so to have people actually like that as those role models, and to actually embrace our own type that we can each define with what beauty is to us, I think is really important.
Yes, okay. So with the understanding that it's difficult when you don't see yourself,
right,
we do need to seek out people that do represent us.
Yes.
and sort of hold them to be our mentors.
A bit of a mentor and a model, saying this is how it can look like.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, Cityline has always taken a big stand on realness and inclusivity, and it's nice to see that the industry is catching up to that.
Yes.
Because I find that it is a tough slog, and if you are in the position of feeling very invisible, it's hard to tell someone who is part of the mainstream how that feels. And so it's nice when big companies can say, we're going to try and fix that.
Yes.
And that's where it needs to come from. It needs to come from outside, and it needs to come from inside. We want to talk a little bit about reframing and showing love to yourself. So you've got...
You got to show love.
You got to show love.
Yeah, you got to show love. Okay,
so
what do I mean by that? We've talked about before in terms of confidence that so much of our confidence starts here, okay?
Yes.
It starts in our mindset. What are the thoughts that we tell about ourselves? And so what we have to do is realize we can control our thought patterns. We can control with what we tell ourselves. So what a lot of times what we do with confidence is we have this very negative, toxic thinking in our head. And so what's really important when I work with clients is getting them to reframe it. And so think about a part of yourself or your body that you don't like, and you give it a different narrative. You give it a different frame. So for example.
So let's work on my stomach.
Okay. All right.
Shall we use that as
Here's one. Are you ready?
Yeah.
So for a lot of people are like, oh, I don't like my stomach.
Make it better.
Okay, there we go. And then you say, I am thankful for my stomach because that is my home for my babies.
Okay.
Right? That is the first home for my babies.
Yeah, there were people living in there.
People in there. They needed it. They needed it. Wrinkles. For somebody who says, I don't like my wrinkles, say, I'm thankful for my wrinkles because every one of them is a symbol that I'm here one more day.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yes. You're alive.
Right. Arms. Some people say, I've got big arms. Yes, and I'm thankful for my big arms because I can actually give huge hugs.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so we got to put a reframe. The very thing that we don't like, we got to put a bit positive spin and say, what is the positive in this?
Right.
What is the positive? For gray hair, you ready? Gray hair.
Yeah.
I am thankful for my gray hair because I get to see my grandchildren.
Right.
Right? So we need to kind of start putting reframes around it so we can actually start owning our confidence back.
Really good. I like it.
Good.
You're just a home. You don't need to be smaller.
You're my babies.
You're a home.